that needs you to prove your innocence beyond your DNA is a very cruel and deliberate law. I wouldn't even call it a law, I would call it a trap. One day in 2016, I was approached, knocked on my door, and a constable issued me some papers stating that I owe child support, and to my surprise, I did. We took a paternity test. I'm not the father, as we all know, but she's still pursuing the matter for personal benefits. We weren't emotionally involved like that. We dated probably 3 times. I saw her 3 times in 1998, went out on dates. We never had a relationship. I don't want to go into a battle with condom companies because put yourself in my shoes and think about your children. Think about what your actions are. And if you truly think you're doing the right thing, then continue. I got 3 kids to take care of. $65,000 is a lot of money. To put it in perspective, that'll be 2 regular family sedans or a very nice Corvette. Half of a house. I have an advice for other men around the world. You need to be careful. Men that are being kept underwater, unseen, hidden, oppressed, because of the system, the way it's designed. It's designed for you to take the biggest financial hit you can. I mean, I have food in the fridge. I have gas in my car. I have air conditioning in my house. There's many men that don't have those opportunities going through this. This has to change. This is wrong.
Watch this video next on Georgia and Tennessee passing laws to prevent paternity fraud.
Have you ever considered how fair the child support system really is? Let's dive into a story that will make you question this very system. Imagine a man, let's call him John, who finds himself entangled in a web of child support payments that amount to a staggering $65,000. Now, this would be a heavy burden for any individual, but what makes John's circumstance particularly shocking is that the child in question isn't even his. John had a few brief encounters with a woman. Their relationship was far from serious. They never dated long-term, let alone considered marriage, yet here he is, shouldering the financial responsibility of a child that's not biologically his. Now, you might be wondering, how did this happen? Did he not take precautions? Well, as a matter of fact, he did. John was diligent in using protection during his encounters with this woman. He was fully aware of the potential consequences and took every measure to prevent unexpected outcomes, but despite his precautions, he was still served with a child support notice. Confused and certain of his innocence, John decided to take a DNA test. The results were clear as day. The child was not his. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? You'd think the court would see this evidence and immediately absolve him of any obligations. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Despite the DNA proof, the court is still insisting that John pay the $65,000 in child support. A man who took precautions, who had proof that the child wasn't his, is still being held accountable for a child that isn't his. This situation raises some serious questions about the fairness of our legal system. It seems that the system is more interested in extracting money than in ensuring the welfare of the child. But despite all of this, he's still being held accountable for a child that isn't his. How can this be? Imagine having DNA evidence that proves your innocence, but the court disregards it. A chilling thought, isn't it? But that's precisely the predicament our protagonist finds himself in. In a world where science and technology have made remarkable strides, it's puzzling how a legal institution can overlook a DNA test, a scientifically proven method of determining parentage. The man in question did everything in his power to establish his innocence. He took a DNA test, a move that under normal circumstances would have been a game changer, but alas, not in this case. The DNA results were unequivocal, clear as day, the man was not the father. Yet, despite this irrefutable evidence, the court remained unmoved. It insisted that he was still liable for $65,000 in child support. One could argue that this is a gross distortion of the justice system's role. A system that is meant to protect and serve justice seems to be more interested in serving invoices. This case isn't just about one man, one DNA test, or one court ruling. It's about a fundamental flaw in the legal system. It's about the court's refusal to accept scientific evidence, and it's about the dangerous precedent this sets for future cases. If the court can disregard a DNA test in this case, what other scientific evidence can it choose to ignore in the future? It's quite disconcerting that a legal system, which should be a beacon of justice, fairness, and truth, is, in this case, seemingly more interested in financial gain than in serving justice. The court's decision to disregard the DNA evidence and demand child support from a man not biologically linked to the child is a worrying trend. The question we must ponder is, what does this say about our legal system? How can we trust a system that seems more interested in extracting money than in upholding the truth? Is it justice or just a business? It seems like the court is more interested in extracting money than serving justice. A sobering thought for us all. What kind of message does this send to men and their interactions with women? It's a question that we have to grapple with, considering the profound implications of this case. If a man can be held financially responsible for a child that isn't biologically his, based on a few fleeting encounters, then the social dynamics between men and women are bound to shift. Imagine being a man in this scenario. You've been careful, you've taken precautions, and yet you're still cornered into a corner by a system that seemingly doesn't care about the truth. It's not far-fetched to think that this could lead to a rise in distrust and apprehension. Men might become more reluctant to engage in relationships, fearing the potential repercussions. But it's not just about the fear of false paternity claims, it's about the broader message that this sends about men's rights and the value of their contributions. When a man is reduced to a mere financial resource, it devalues his role in a child's life. It perpetuates the idea that men are disposable, that their worth is tied to their wallets, and that they have no legal recourse when they're wronged. This case also highlights a disturbing trend of judicial bias in family courts. If a man's proof of non-paternity is dismissed, it raises serious questions about the fairness of the legal process. It speaks to a system that is more interested in maintaining the status quo and extracting money than in upholding justice. But let's not forget about the women in this equation. This case sets a dangerous precedent that might encourage unscrupulous behavior. It suggests that women can manipulate the system to their advantage, which is a disservice to all the honest, hardworking women who are fighting for genuine cases of child support. The repercussions of this case go beyond just one man. It affects societal dynamics as a whole. It's a wake-up call for us to reevaluate our legal system and societal norms. Because if we don't, we risk creating a society where fear, distrust, and manipulation are the order of the day. But who really suffers in this situation? The question hangs heavy in the air as we delve into the unseen victims of this deeply unjust situation. It's easy to focus on the man forced to pay $65,000 in child support for a child that isn't his, or the woman who committed paternity fraud. But there's another party here, one that often gets overlooked in the pursuit of financial gain: the children involved. In the midst of this legal and social quagmire, these innocent beings are caught. They are being used as pawns in a game of financial chess. Their well-being sacrificed at the altar of greed. And it's not just their present that's being affected, but their future as well. The emotional and psychological impact of these circumstances can have long-lasting effects, shaping their views on relationships, trust, and the very idea of family. Furthermore, let's consider the implications of this situation on men, not just the one directly involved, but men at large. This case can breed a sense of fear and reluctance in men to engage with women, to form relationships, to trust. This fear can create a ripple effect, influencing the dynamics of romantic and familial relationships, further exacerbating social issues. The state and the courts, in their misguided attempt to extract money, have created a monstrous situation where the law seems to be manipulated against men. The rejection of DNA tests that prove a man is not the father, just to secure more money, is a blatant disregard for justice and the rights of individuals. This isn't just about one man's misfortune, it's about a system that's failing to uphold fairness and integrity. And at the heart of it all are the children, the unseen victims. They are the ones who bear the brunt of this injustice, their lives shaped by the greed and manipulation of others. In the end, it's the children who suffer the most. Their well-being should be paramount, not an afterthought in this twisted game of financial gain. So what can we do about it? We can start by questioning the system, questioning the fairness, and questioning the motives. Take a moment to think about this situation. A man forced to pay $65,000 in child support for a child that isn't his. A DNA test, dismissed. His pleas, ignored. Is this justice? Let's bring in another perspective. I want to call out at No More Days Off. You've been quite vocal about these issues. What's your take on this? What excuse can be made for this woman's actions? What justification exists for why this man should bear this misfortune? It's not just about one man's hardship, it's about the message we're sending to men everywhere. That their rights can be dismissed. That they can be held responsible for a child that isn't theirs. That they can be manipulated and used for financial gain. We need to talk about this, we need to question, we need to challenge. The child support system as it stands is flawed. It's being used as a tool to extract money from men. It's ignoring scientific evidence in favor of financial gain. It's not looking out for the best interest of the child, but rather how much money it can squeeze out of the situation. This isn't right, this isn't fair, and it's time we did something about it. So I encourage you all to reflect on this situation, to ask yourself if this is the kind of system you stand for, and if it's not, then it's time to take action. Share your thoughts on social media, start a conversation, let's bring about change. If you found this video thought-provoking, smash that like button, subscribe with bell notifications, and share this video. Let's start a conversation and bring about change.